Welcome to the Bowel Chronicles, where we dive deep into the world of bowel health. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and on this podcast we have raw and candid conversations with individuals facing various bowel conditions and illnesses. Through personal stories and shared experiences, we illuminate resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Be reminded that each story is personal and unique. These conversations are not to be taken as medical advice or to replace guidance from a doctor or healthcare provider. Our aim is to inspire and empower through these amazing stories, amplifying voices often unheard. So join us as we embark on this journey together. Sit back, listen, and be inspired. Enjoy the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bowel Chronicles. Today is your first for 2026, so happy new year to everyone who is tuning in today, either watching or listening. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and today we are joined by the lovely Ailidh, who is just outside Birmingham. Am I correct, Ailidh?
Yeah.
It's good to have you here to share some of your story. I know we've had this lined up for months, and then my health was a bit of a disaster, and then Christmas happened. So thank you for taking time out of your day, Ailidh, to come along and share your personal story with us today. You are living life with an ileostomy. You're also diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Maybe you could take us back to why did you need a stoma? How did you end up with your ileostomy, or what was life like before you that it led to that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks for having me, Nikki. It's lovely to be here. So when I was 12 years old, I started feeling a lot of sickness and fullness when I would eat. And, sort of as a 12-year-old, I decided, oh, well, this is what's causing it, so I'll eat a bit less. And that's kind of how things went for about 6 months, and it didn't go away. It didn't make it better. Um, and I think I just kept sort of eating less and less as time went on. And my parents were getting, very worried, as parents would. And we went to about six doctors, um, like GP referrals, psychiatrists as well were involved at the end. And eventually the GP just sent me into A&E and said, like, you just need rehydration. My cognitive decline had fallen off the cliff, really. School was just an impossible situation. And when I was in the hospital getting fluids, a psychiatrist came along and diagnosed me with anorexia. He said, you're eating less, you've lost weight, you've got anorexia. So then I was sort of, this is a very short version. I was admitted to a child and adolescent mental health ward, and was a bit up and down there. It was a very, very chaotic environment to be in, very scary.
All at the age of 12.
I turned 13 by that point, but there were people as young, like 7, 8 in there as well. Um, and from part way through, things just took a really deep, just disastrous turn. And I started refusing to comply. Like, I'd been eating up to that point, even though it was hurt me.
Mhm.
They were looking into me being autistic, but they said my cognitive function was too impaired to really properly get an idea of whether I was autistic. I am actually autistic, and I was diagnosed a few years after that. Um, and the short story is that I started needing to be restrained and sectioned in order to be tube fed, and sort of self-harmed in order to deal with that. And that went on for the next 12 years. That cycle, I had 9 admissions, and the last one was 4 years straight in London. And I was discharged in 2023, and I've not been back since, which is just an incredible achievement. And by 2017, for 7 years, I'd been fighting the doctors to tell them that I was still feeling full, I was still feeling sick. I would go sort of 2 weeks without having a bowel movement. And everyone was saying, you just want to find an excuse not to eat. It's your anorexia. The GP took my mum aside and said, "Oh, it's just make people with mental health like issues just want to find something else wrong with them." And eventually, I think my mum saw an article in a newspaper that was an autistic woman who had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and listed every single thing that I'd been complaining about for 7 years. And she took the newspaper into the doctors and said, "Right, this is it. This is what she's got. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. We want a referral." And he said, "Oh, well, I don't know." And I think whether it took time or whether my parents just gave up and took me privately, I can't quite recall. But we went privately, and there was very, very immediate diagnosis. It was like, yeah, this is what's going on. That led to sort of cardiac investigations. It led to with sort of like possibilities with things like postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is kind of the sort of dizziness and fast heart rate upon standing. The gastrointestinal team found that I had delayed gastric emptying. So my stomach digested food at twice the maximum normal rate, that which meant that it was counted as delayed. So that's why I'd been feeling so full because it was the food was just sitting in my stomach, and it would still be there by the time I had to eat again. And yeah, so I think that was that was kind of that big melting pot of 10 years or so, that I was going through that. Um, and I then developed a rectal prolapse that required surgery. That left me with a hernia after needing some emergency scans, because I was paralyzed afterwards, which was then told to be a functional neurological thing. Like my body just shut down because it was so weak. So then eventually, yeah, the hernia developed, but then I had a womb prolapse. So prolapses are really common with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome because the connective tissues are so lax and weak. And so the sort of straining that I would have to do to try and have a bowel movement, in,
Yeah.
interchanging with like the frequency of and changing into diarrhea was just like just sent that tissue just left me. And then I ended up then needing a subtotal hysterectomy. So they removed my womb in January 2024. They fixed the hernia. All seemed well. And then I started having both anterior, so front and back, small bowel prolapse again when I went to the toilet. And eventually we don't quite know what led to it, but I think the bowel got caught around adhesions, because I developed really, really solid and like masses of internal adhesions, which is scar tissue after operations. And the bowel just sort of cut itself off. And I was in pain instantly. I knew something was going on. And I went to the hospital, and then I think I had 7 or 8 hours waiting in a chair in A&E without pain relief. And I think my dad had bruised hands by the end of it because I just had to squeeze his hand constantly.
Mhm.
And then the bowel must have then untangled itself because it seemed to go, by the time they scanned me. But they found a heart problem at the same time. There was fluid around my heart. So they kept me in for the weekend, even though I was having a maths GCSE exam on the Monday. And I was like, I need to go. You have to let me go. It was the first time I'd been back in education for 10 years. And they said no, which thank goodness they did, because on the Sunday the bowel must have got tangled again and it started happening. I was vomiting for 7 hours continuously until there was just black fluid coming up. I was sweating, and then they essentially left me in that state for a week, saying the first scan was clear. This doesn't show all the typical signs of a bowel obstruction, because by that time I'd stopped vomiting because I'd stopped eating. They said she's not vomiting anymore, and things like that. But I couldn't breathe without pain. I couldn't move. I couldn't wee. I couldn't poo. I couldn't eat. I looked about 7 months pregnant, and eventually they were like, "Oh, all right, we'll try and scan you again." Um, so they did. They did an X-ray. They came back and they said, "Well, we are a little bit surprised," they said. And they were like, "Oh, but it could just be gas. So we're going to do a CT scan with contrast just to confirm." And they came back and said, "No, you've got to go straight to surgery." And like we went down, and then somebody in the community had got stabbed. So then I was shoved up back upstairs while they operated on this person. And I think 4 days later, I woke up in ICU because I'd had to be ventilated, so intubated and ventilated. They'd opened me up. They'd had to remove 1.7 meters of my small bowel. There was like gangrenous fluid. There was sort of green mucus on the intestines, and they were like in and out of theatre for those 3 days because they wanted to try and reconnect. So they left it for some time, but then the NG tube was kinked, so all the fluid that was supposed to drain just like stayed in my abdomen. So they had to drain it, and then it went back, and then they said, "No, it's too inflamed. We need to reconnect it." So they asked my mum, who at that point was just distraught. You know, she'd almost lost her daughter for anorexia from suicide, and now she was like, it's going to be the body that eventually takes her. So she had to sign this form. And yeah, I kind of woke up in ICU with an ileostomy bag. And my first reaction was, oh, okay. I think by that point I'd been asking for a stoma bag for 2 years because I thought it might fix things. And it turned out it did. So yeah, I mean, now since then, like I can eat without pain. I can eat anything, obviously within limitations of the stoma, but I don't feel that horrible fullness. I don't feel that sickness. And I think part of that reason why I've not been readmitted into psychiatric care is because of my stoma, and because really actually that my bowel and my stomach, because of the Ehlers-Danlos, was just they weren't functioning properly for so long, and being forced to function in a way it couldn't, really I think broke it in the end. But you know, now things are going well. Um, I
Well,
breathe.
talk about a mic drop moment there. It's just when you just you first started talking about being admitted and being diagnosed with anorexia, 12, 13 years of age, and it just spiraled. It just got so much worse.
Hmm.
I'm like, how I can't talk to you. You're still here. Well done for still being here.
Yeah.
Because you must be one hell of a girl that with the strength and determination to how do you even advocate for yourself after being through that? Like, I mean, it's something as ostomates and people in the bowel community with issues all the time. Even when you have surgery, you still have to advocate so much for yourself. It just doesn't stop there. And I don't know how you have the strength and determination to keep on going. It must just be, I don't know, as a mum, I would be told I'm devastated that you had to go through that. I'm devastated that your mum had to go through that and watch you suffer for so long. Um, and to be told her child has an eating disorder, it feels like it was like almost like a sticking plaster. We'll put on it, we'll give her a label for now, and that'll make things better. We'll almost like put the blame on you for doing this.
Yeah.
Just not okay. Absolutely not okay. Knowing and being someone who has a stoma surgery, myself who has an ileostomy, and mine isn't through ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, it is to do with the bowel paralyzing, and being on a liquid diet for 4 years before my surgery. If I had the tiniest spoonful of food, the pain was excruciating. And as a woman to go through that,
was painful, but for a child to go through that and that to be your everyday life through your, I mean, you've lost your teenage years. Those are years you're not getting back because they were taken from you. You've not had that normal childhood, time that you should have had. I mean, your school, your education, everything has been taken from you um, during this process. So we really want to talk here about, the physical illness side of things impacting the mental health, and then how you come through that. Um, you've really got me on this. You really have. This is a big, big subject. Obviously, mental health, vast, vast subject. Um, let's delve into it a little bit. How did you handle being segregated from like your peers? Like you're in school one moment, you're trying to eat food, you're trying to have a normal life, and the next thing then you're being put into this different community. You're put into um a mental health unit, to be looked after and diagnosed with anorexia, but yet your body's feeling you that you're trying to eat, but it's just not working. What Give us some of your thoughts. I know you've probably like blanked it all out and you're like,
I was so confused. I mean, it was confusing and scary, and I was just like, I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
mm,
And I think that being autistic as well, kind
mm,
of that we didn't quite know about, but it also impacted me in certain ways, like socially, but also, physically. Like I didn't like certain feelings inside of my body, one of them being pain. It's just
yes,
very, very stressful,
mhm,
and fullness. And so like being full from a little bit of food because of the Ehlers-Danlos, and then being forced to eat food and then feeling full, which is then painful but also stressful for like the sort of sensory part of it. It
mhm,
was, oh, I hated it. I hated it, but I was so confused. And I think part of the reason that it all went on for like so long was because nobody was looking any deeper than what they could see with, and sort of what they were taught and what they believed. And so I got really angry. I was like, I'll
mhm,
fight you back. And my mum is just my hero. Like she is how I learned to advocate for myself. Just sort of she first of all, she wasn't going to let this anorexia thing like take our family away, like ruin the family. That was her one key determination, and she held it together with the glue. And it's amazing that they had to go through that as well.
mhm,
School for itself was confusing, so I don't think at the time I'd really processed the loss of that. I think it was later when I was trying to go back into education that I felt that loss.
yeah,
And that comes with the education, but also the people. Like I didn't really make sense to other people, and people didn't make sense to me. So it was just, yeah, it was a roller coaster of a ride, and I think a lot of it I just shut down.
mhm,
And there came a point where I truly believed that I was making it all up, and that, like, I started to believe the sort of medical gaslighting. I was like, maybe I'm just making it all up. Like, am I
mhm,
really feeling this? Is this really actually the right diagnosis now?
mhm,
And I think it took to the stage where they did the hysterectomy and the sort of hernia repair, where the abdominal surgeon said, like you're an absolute mess inside. I think it took having someone see my insides
mhm, mhm.
to really validate that I was never making it up.
Yes, yes.
And like that in itself was almost a grieving stage. I was like, had to then process the fact that this could have all been stopped like 10 years prior.
Mhm,
And that was hard. Um, and I wouldn't have gotten through it without my parents.
mhm,
Um, like the hospitals I were at, like they didn't really help because the treatment really wasn't right, to be honest. Like I did develop what you could call anorexia in the end. After so long being sort of surrounded by people who had anorexia, being treated,
Mhm.
but in an anorexic treatment program, I really did start having those thoughts, and they are still here. Like I still get them every day, but I know that I don't have to listen to them. I know that they don't mean anything. I know that it's not really me thinking that and that the thoughts aren't valid, but it's taken like grinding that into me to be strong enough to not go there again.
That's almost being pushed onto you because you know now having had your stomach surgery and you can eat and it doesn't hurt to have had food. That was one of the big shocks for me, and like learning to eat again and have all those things. It's like having a food for the first time again. It's the most bizarre thing. But yet, whenever you're in an anorexic program and going through that treatment, that's being pushed onto you. And then you're saying if it got to the stage where you're being tube fed, that of course that's going to lead to even bigger weight loss. Like that, it's just I don't know I don't know how you've done it. I really don't know how you've done it. And along with autism being thrown into the mix as well of dealing with your emotions, trying to regulate your emotions, explain how you feel, and you've got medical gaslighting going on in the middle of it, and your mum trying to fight for you. I don't, you're some girl. You really are some girl. Like honestly, bravery. You need a bravery medal if you haven't got one. We need to get you one from somewhere. But yeah, you absolutely deserve it. That you're now 28 and still here to tell a tale of what you've been through. Um, Subtotal hysterectomy,
Mhm.
24, big thing. How there was no like, oh, we're going to do this. You're going to end up with a subtotal hysterectomy here. I'm assuming you woke out of surgery and that had been done.
No, no, it was a very long process of planning. Like, I mean, I'll be straight. I never wanted children. I really don't like children. So to me, it wasn't the loss that probably a lot of women would
Yeah.
feel.
Okay.
It actually made me very happy. But yeah, it was a very long process where I essentially a group of doctors and physicians had to just debate the ethics of doing that surgery, even though like, I would go to the toilet and my womb would fall out. And then even before that, they didn't really believe me because it didn't show when I coughed. They were like, "Oh, it's not showing when you cough, so then it's not there." I
Yeah.
took pictures, I took videos, and
Good.
like as proof, I'm like, I'm really not making this up. And I think I had to live a year with that happening, and with with asked by strangers like, "When's your baby due?" because of my hernia. This is whilst I was still in hospital for anorexia. And when people are asking me when I'm having my child, I'm like, great, thank you. This is a really big boost in the body image zone.
Mhm.
But yeah, so and it went on for so long, this debate on ethics. And I was just like, I want this to happen. This is my body. Please listen to me. Like, I'm not going to regret this. I've never wanted kids. I never played mummies and daddies with dollies. Like, this is not me. I want you to take it out. But they just seem to not want to listen to that. They're like, you might change your mind. And so even that like really took a toll on that health because I was just like constantly having to say, take it out. I do not want it. But oh well, we just want to wait a bit. Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this is just making me miserable. And yeah, um,
When the diagnosis came then of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I know you said it was like there was a period of grief, but was it a relief? Was it almost like I told you,
oh yeah, I really wanted to just go to every single doctor I'd ever seen, every single psychiatrist, every single psychologist, and I wanted to shout at them and tell you, I am not making it up. It was real, and I was like, this is all your fault. I really wanted to get vengeful. And it took a very long time to try and let go of that anger and that vengeance because I could not change what had happened. And that in itself was so hard. But I've had to over the years kind of let that go that we are where we are. And like, I mean, I might be a totally different person if when I was 12, all of this hadn't kicked off. And, it's you can never know these things.
It's made you who you are today, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but because of the journey you've been on, but you've conquered it, you've came through it, and you are stronger, you are wiser, you've learned to advocate for yourself, and you will not put up with what you've been through before because
Yeah.
it's part of life. I've hit timer instead of, I don't know, apologies.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so diagnosed with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I know your mom's read the article, but did you know anything about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?
Um, no, I don't think I did. I mean, after that, I feel like I became an expert, but no, it was not something that had ever been mentioned or talked about or like, suggested by anybody. It was, yeah, it was a whole new thing. We'd always known that I was, very, very flexible and sort of we just double jointed, I think we called it, which is that kind of hypermobile element. Um, but that's all just the kind of external. And a lot of the sort of symptoms that people will associate with it are very external and visible, like symptoms like the skin and the like different bruisings and that kind of
Your skin would be
like
oh,
stretchy and soft and
yeah.
easy bruising and all of this stuff. But actually, for me, what was the worst part was the gastrointestinal system, that my bowel really was just all one big sort of mush. I had so many adhesions adhering like different parts of like the bowel to the abdominal wall or different parts of the like the bladder to the wall or the cervix to the wall, and everything was just in the wrong place. Adhesions had like covered over my fallopian tubes to the wall of wherever they are, and the ovaries were just, they might as well have been just non-existent marbles. So for me, it was really all the things that you can't see. And that's why people, I think, find it so hard. Like the doctors find it either so hard to diagnose or are so skeptical because unless they open you up, they can't see all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it takes those really special people to be like, "No, I know what you mean. I get you," and
Mhm.
I've been very lucky in having that with my surgeons. Um,
Yeah, so you've had the help then, whether you do it on the NHS or you go privately, when you've had the diagnosis, you've had the right expertise there.
yeah.
You still had to fight. Had they or have they offered you any um help, from a counselling point of view, mental health, given what you've already been through, and then this diagnosis comes of the Ehlers-Danlos?
No, there was n no real acknowledgement. It was a lot of it was kind of here's the diagnosis, we'll go through all the processes and blah blah blah, and then you can manage it. I think a lot of support comes from like forums, Facebook forums for other people with Ehlers-Danlos, or charities as well, giving a lot of information and a lot of support to people. Um, and people with lived experience who kind of understand where people are coming from when they are facing these difficulties and in advocating and sort of dealing with things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the majority of it for you seems to have been gastrointestinal side of things, gynae side of things. You said you've had some cardiac issues as well.
Yeah.
So, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, connective tissue, but it travels, it's throughout the entire body. What is your like physical ability like? Is it impacted?
Yeah, I mean, I live in chronic pain from my back, my hips, my knees, my pelvis, anywhere that's got those kind of the joints. I've had some, I mean, but I'm a very stubborn person, so I'm like, No, I'll keep doing the hoovering even though it's really sore because I like a clean carpet. Or, it's like if if I didn't if I tried to not be in pain, that I would just be not doing anything. I have to sometimes I get out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning because my hips are too sore from sleeping. Um, or, but then even, you know, I I I just carry on with life because otherwise I would be doing nothing and being miserable. And it's like, yeah, I can do everything. I'll be in pain and that can make me miserable, but I'll also experience a lot more. Um, and you know,
But then when you do something, then does it have a knock-on effect? Do you get even more exhausted then?
yeah, so I'll get more pain, I'll get more sort of fatigue. Um, at the moment, I'm cycling in and out of acute kidney injuries from dehydration. That's from my ileostomy. So I get very tired. And I'm going to college at the minute doing an access to university course. And sometimes just, sitting all day in a classroom, that's having a knock-on effect on my pain. And sometimes I just fall asleep with my eyes open. Sometimes I'm walking around the house and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know that I'm doing things. I'm just too exhausted to engage with it. Um, and that in itself and the pain is hard. Sometimes I just cry because I'm like, this is so unfair. That like I've gone through everything, I'm still here and I'm still suffering.
And
Um,
it's a bit of a bittersweet situation because, you know, for more than half your life here, your body has been fighting. And, part of my head goes to my body has been failing me, it's failing me, it's failing me. But then you look at the other side of it and go, no, my body, I'm surviving because my body is fighting and it's carrying me through, it's getting me through. So I'm like, it's so bittersweet, and so frustrating, but
mm.
yet you're still surviving through it.
Yeah, I think I've learned that there is absolutely nothing that can happen to me now that is worse than what's happened. I think that was a phrase my mum used when my dentist was like, "You eat chocolate every day?" I'm like, "Yeah, and it's like if I have to have, a filling or whatever, like I'm like, I'll have a filling. I'm gonna eat chocolate. I'm gonna enjoy it. Like if I
Yeah.
have to have a tooth out, I don't care because it's not worse than what's happened already.
Yeah.
So
So getting your stoma surgery, things have definitely improved now. And you said for 2 years you felt like it was going to be the game changer for you. It was what you needed, and it has been what you've needed. But living with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and other things going on in the body, and then living with the stoma, obviously then will impact your health as well. So you're saying you're living there with acute kidney injuries all of the time. You're dehydrated. Is your stoma really, really high output stoma?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and do you think that's part and parcel of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and your genetic makeup?
Yeah, I think so because it doesn't matter how many loperamides I take. It doesn't matter what I eat or drink. It's just even if it's like um, a good sort of good put together consistency, there's still bags of it. Like it's just gonna happen. And I think for so long I tried to fight it and I was just like, this isn't fair. I'm not, like, and now I'm just like, okay, this is what we want to be doing, so we're going to be doing it. Um,
Is there anything you can do to help it slightly? Or
um,
you find that changes it or impacts it?
Eating pastry, which I love, so that's great. Lots of pastry, like sausage rolls, pot pies.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good little like the mini ones. They're a really good little snack to just try and give
Mm.
some bulk or give some stoppage. The difficulty is that when someone's dehydrated and like when I'm dehydrated, I just want to drink more, but doing that is good. It makes it worse, obviously.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's sometimes a fight between my mouth is the Sahara Desert. I feel like this is the like awful, I can't stand it. And knowing what's going to happen when I have a drink to, do you know what? Just I'm staying in all evening. I don't care. I just need to drink like as much as I need to. I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. Um, and I know I'd mentioned to you that my partner has a ileostomy as well, and he goes to bed a lot later than me. So it's like we have a system now where he'll wake me up when he's coming to bed. So then I can go and empty my bag in case I sleep through it.
Yeah.
And when he's waking up to go in the night, then that kind of does sometimes wake me up. So it's a nice
Mm.
symbiotic system where we're helping each other out. And so
That's good. Yeah, I feel guilty sometimes whenever I get up during the night. I'm always up at least twice during the night to do a bag empty, and
mhm.
I do
Yeah.
feel bad. And he will say the next morning, "I heard you up." God, it's for the
Yeah.
rest of your life, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, so you're suffering there with the kidney issues as well. That's really difficult being in and out of hospital, having to get IV fluids and all, being in that hospital environment. Nobody likes it. It's not good. It's not definitely not good for the mental health to be in there long term, as you know. So like, I don't know, electrolytes. I drink electrolytes personally every day. But if you're going to get dehydrated, it happens within half an hour. It doesn't matter how many electrolytes you have had. If that output just turns over, turns over, turns over, turns over, you're dehydrated anyway, and you need those IV fluids. It's just you have to do it. It's so
Well, yeah, another mic drop here. I don't even get the IV fluids. No
really.
one, apart from once, and this is like now the sixth or seventh time I think that my like whatever thing that they measure to do it goes down. They have not actually done anything about it. So I just, yeah,
What do they do for you?
nothing. Then kind of going back to that advocacy part, I was actually discharged a few months after my surgery, um, totally discharged from colorectal care, and I stormed my way back in la late last year,
Okay.
and so rather brisk email to a colorectal surgeon,
Mhm.
um, and it seemed to work because within 5 weeks I'd had an NHS appointment, which you never get. It's like a
Mhm.
12-month minimum wait. So they
Yeah.
knew that they'd messed up by discharging me. Um, and so I think now that I seem to be back in some sort of NHS system, that they will keep a better eye. Like I'm booked in for some MRIs and some camera studies. I've been referred to the intestinal failure team. And yeah, so this is obviously all things that should have probably happened quite a while ago. But again, me and my mum and my partner, we didn't give up, like
Yeah.
fighting to advocate for what I needed. And, going in that hospital room was validated by what he'd said. And, you know, it's so, yeah, sometimes I just feel it's the worst day of my life. And then, sometimes I just look down when I'm on the toilet for like the 20th time in an hour and I'm just like, I hate you. I hate you. But, you know, I don't even know how I still go. Like I don't know. If anyone asks me for advice, I'm like, I don't know. I can't give you advice because I don't know what I do. I just seem to just,
Survive.
yeah, I just can't second guess it all. It's just I just seem to be an inbuilt survivor now. It's like my body and my brain just know what to do, and I don't have any thought in it.
Yeah.
Um,
But you have to be such a resilient person as well to have gone through everything that you have and to continue to go through that. You're so strong. You really are. You're incredible. Let's touch a wee bit because you have mentioned it. Your partner has a stoma. So, through all of this, for me started off as a 12-year-old girl, being admitted into that hospital, being diagnosed with anorexia, that is your problem.
deal
go
with it.
right to now getting a diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, having an ileostomy, and you're living with your partner, you've met someone else. How does that happen? There is good in all of this.
Yeah. And this is coming from, I was somebody I swore I would never, ever have a partner. I never wanted to know a man ever. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted, to just know. And it's just like somehow, sometimes the right person just seems to be in the right place. So I joined the Ileostomy Association and did some volunteering, and that's how we met. And yeah, love blooms in the most unusual places. But I think both of us agree it's the best thing that's happened. So.
So how long have you been together?
Well, it's we've been together for 7 months, and some people might be like, "Well, it's awful quick to move in," but we're just like, we don't care. It was instant. There was just something, um, and yeah, there is a connection there. I describe it as like meeting your soulmate. I think there's an old myth where
Mhm.
it's like a man and a woman were once one whole being, and then they were split and they were sent to walk around the world. And it's you just spend that time trying to find that match, and I think that's how I describe me and him. So
Goosebumps in my arms.
yeah, it's awful cheesy, but it's cute.
No, I love it, and I wish you all the success in your relationship, and I hope you have many, many, many happy years together. And I love that it's another obstinate that you have met, and you just get each other.
Hmm.
You can
Yeah,
support each other, and you can advocate for each other, and you can go through this journey together. Because that is very, very special. A lot of people enter into relationships for the first time, and they're like, "Oh my God, I've got to tell this person I've got a stoma." How do you do that? When do I tell them that? And it's very, very different for you. I love
yeah. I feel very lucky that I don't have to go through that. Um, like I can't imagine how
it.
it would be. So yeah.
Ailey, is there anything else you want to touch on today that we haven't covered? There is lots. So, I want to say to our listeners and viewers today, there are bound to be so, so many questions in out of this interview. You can pop them into the comments below and we will get them answered for you. I will pop Ailey's social media handle on there. And again, any questions, just fire them backwards and forwards and we can get those answered for you. We are not the professionals, we're just sharing our own personal journeys with you. So if you feel like you've got any symptoms or there's anything here that you are resonating with, go and speak to the professionals, advocate for yourself, and get the help that you deserve. You've heard and seen of this incredible woman's journey that she's been on and the battle that she has had over the years to finally get diagnosis and be living on the other side of surgery. And yeah, you're just an absolute you're a hero. You're an absolute hero. I should be one of those Marvel characters named after you. Yeah. I just hats off to you. Like I'm really, really proud of you. We've only been in contact the last few months or whatever, but I feel honoured to have had you here share your story with us today. And it's just amazing, incredible.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to share or any little golden nuggets of that you want to leave our audience with?
Um, there is always hope. I think that's the key. Um, I'd lost sight of hope for so long. So my mum carried it for me. But yeah, to anyone out there, there is always hope. There is another way.
Yeah. Did you say your mum carried it for you because you didn't as far as you were concerned there was no hope because you were just fighting a losing battle. And so if you're someone that's listening today and you're battling this journey on your own, I would say reach out to someone and don't do this journey on your own. No one ever should have to do this on their own. There are plenty of people out there. I know it's difficult. I know it's really, really hard, when you're trying to find that one other person in the world that is like you. That was me at one stage before I had surgery. It's part of the reason why the podcast is up and running, because I had to find someone on the other side of the world through a podcast episode who was my one person whose story was the same as mine. And then the world just opened up after that. So there is hope by sharing your story today, Ailidh. That's exactly what we're doing, pushing that out there to the rest of the world, around the globe, sharing that there is hope on the other side of this. So yeah, thank you so much again for sharing your amazing story with us today. We wish you all the best in your relationship and on your health journey. We're wishing your partner all the best. You did say he's got some surgery coming up next week, so good luck with that. And we're wishing him a good, fast, and healthy recovery, and strength for you as you help him navigate through that, and you care for him as well. But look after yourself and keep advocating for the things that you need for yourself as well. So we will stay tuned for your journey. Guys, that's it from us today. Do come back to join us again for another episode very, very soon. But from Ailidh and myself, it is over and out today.